I'm the manager of the Social Services Department here in Laguna Woods Village. Today's presentation was brought to you through a collaborative effort between Laguna Woods Village, Manor Alterations, and Social Services.
Hello everyone, my name is Kathy Villafana. I'm the Administrative Specialist for the Social Services Department, and today's presentation is entitled Protect Yourself, Avoid Scams and Fraud, and I have the privilege of introducing our three speakers for today. So first we have Kira Hall. She's not new to us. She came and spoke last year, and she is the Outreach Coordinator for the Contractor State License Board. She will be going over their Senior Scam Stopper presentation, which educates seniors on how to prevent construction fraud and what to know before hiring contractors. The board protects consumers by regulating the construction industry, and has been providing the presentation throughout California with state and local community partners since 1999. The next speaker is Sally Westlake, and she is a targeted outreach specialist for the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation, and they've actually come and spoken here at the Village before. She has 17 years of experience in outreach programs for state agencies. She specializes in educating the public on recognizing and preventing financial fraud and scams. She provides presentations across the state focused on identifying warning signs of fraud and equipping individuals with the tools they need to protect themselves. Her work is especially centered on supporting the most vulnerable members of our communities. So her presentation will explain what DFPI is and what they do, as well as talk about government imposter scams, tech support scams, cyber safety, and how to avoid a scam. And lastly, we have Melissa Rosser, and she's the outreach specialist for the California Privacy Protection Agency. She previously led the technology education program at St. Barnabas Senior Services in Los Angeles, where she helped older adults and caregivers navigate technology. By the end of her presentation, you will be able to understand how personal information is collected, shared, and misused, identify California privacy rights and practical ways to exercise them, recognize the risks posed by data brokers and how to reduce those risks, and know how to get help if privacy rights are violated. So let's give a warm welcome to our speakers.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to be leaning. I'm a little tall, so my apologies for staring at you like this. As Lourdes mentioned, it is a pleasure to be here again for the second year in a row, and this is the program, as mentioned. We've been doing this a while, and we do it statewide, so I fly all around to present to seniors about, I know, incredibly exciting, how to avoid construction fraud. But believe it or not, there's a lot you don't know, and a lot that you might not realize you need to know until you know it. So that is what I'm going to be talking about tonight. I know a lot of you might be really eager to learn how to deal with email scams, phone scams, mail fraud. And the thing with construction fraud is it's one of the things that a lot of people don't realize. There's so much fraud and scams within. And I'm going to give some examples as well of particular types of construction jobs that we see a lot of scams happen in and we get a lot of complaints around. So I'm going to do my best to make it fun and interesting and super informative. So again, before I get started, I want to give a huge thank you to Laguna Woods Village and to everyone who's helped put together this event, and to my fantastic colleagues. You're going to get a lot from all of us, all the speakers here today. So a little bit about who we are before I get started. Again, I am the outreach coordinator and the speaker for our Senior Scam Stopper program. But in the broad scheme of things, so the Contractors Board regulates the construction industry. What that means in simple terms is essentially we license contractors to work in California. By doing that, we can protect consumers who hire contractors. So we were originally established in 1929. With consumer protection in mind. So we've been around the block a bit. And how many of you, with a show of hands, have ever hired a contractor before? right? This is something many of us do on the regular. And how many of you have ever been shown or asked to see their contractor's license, that little pocket card? Okay, there we go, a few of you. So that is the proof that they are licensed with us. Those cards are printed at our HQ in Sacramento, where I am from. So just a little bit of context about who we are. And again, this is our Senior Scam Stopper program. We have been around since 1999, partnering with legislative offices, community organizations, all kinds of things. And believe it or not, I am older than the presentation. I have to make you laugh a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to talk about why are seniors targeted in construction scams so much, and in scams in general. I'm going to go over some scam tactics. I'm also going to talk about what should you know before hiring a contractor. And I'm going to talk, like I said, about some types of construction jobs to be aware of. And I'm also going to show you how to file a complaint should you need it, and how to check a license, which is a fantastic resource we have available on our website. And I'm going to go over additional resources for seniors at the end as well. And again, if I get a little too loud or a little too quiet, feel free to shout out, raise your hand. I want to make sure everyone can hear me. So to get started, let's talk about what you should know as a senior ahead of hiring a contractor. So to kind of get the conversation started is when it comes to seniors, you may have already heard or will hear today a lot about seniors being a population that is often targeted by scammers. And why is that? So there's a lot of factors that go into that, but in particular, a few key samples I can give is that seniors are more likely to either live alone, spend a lot of time alone, but you also may have accrued wealth, nest eggs, Social Security, retirement, things that people or scammers, they know and they go after, and they take advantage of that, especially because you may feel more pressure to be polite, to engage with someone who's trying to sell you a service or pressure you, because you feel like you need to say hi or shake a hand or smile, like you feel that pressure to be polite. And of course, you know, that is a human quality, that is a lovely thing. Scammers take advantage of that. So something to know. And to get, like I said, just kind of getting our brains awake to this topic. I know it's a very warm afternoon and I myself am ready for a nap, I get it. But scammers are attracted to any amount of money that they can get. So don't think that they're not going to go the extra mile, even if it's over, like, let's say $10. The reason for that is their way in to establish trust with someone. And if they can determine that they can get anything, even like the smallest little construction job, they're not going to stop there if they've proven they can get money out of someone. So that's why we want you to know ahead to make sure it never begins. Okay, and don't answer your door to strangers. I know this is silly because this is something we all, have heard since the dawn of time. The reason for it is if you genuinely want a construction service done, you don't need to feel pressure to hire the person who's knocking down your door trying to sell you a deal that's only available today, right? Like, we have plenty of resources that you're going to get from me today on how to take your time and find the right contractor. So it's okay to say no. You're not rude for having boundaries and saying no to someone who's knocking down your door without an invite to be on your property. And I know, is this a community that do you guys even get solicitors here? Okay, so that's good to know, but it's still, you never know. Sometimes people will even approach you out in public, and it's valuable information. And so before I jump to the next slide, so something I really like to stress because of the importance when it comes to protecting yourself. Making cash payments is not a safe way to pay a contractor. In most situations, I mean, this is outside of like a tiny handyman job, but in general, the reason for this is cash payments can be a red flag of a scam when they are, let's say, a large, legitimate construction company, but they can't run a card, they can't take a check, they can only take your payment in cash. Like, when you take a deep breath and you slow down and you think critically on that, right? That's what I like to say, take a deep breath and think. Is that a very legitimate business practice? Like, at all? right? So you want to be very careful, and the overall reason for this is when it comes to cash payments, they're not traceable. It makes it a lot easier. I know I'm getting some nods. It makes it a lot easier for scammers to take your money and a lot harder for law enforcement, for banks, et cetera, to trace it and get it back to the victim. So not to scare you, I like to make the joke about, like, watch those crime shows, right, where they're investigating, they're following the money trail. They can't do that when it's in cash. So something to think about. So the most value information you're going to get from my presentation today is this slide. As great as everything you're going to get is, the value to consumers on this slide is very, very relevant because not every single construction job on the planet, right, needs to have a license. So if the job is priced at $1,000 or more, labor and materials included, so the whole cost, if it's at or over this amount, they need to have a license, and they need to be licensed to do that specific type of work. So let's say for those of you who do hire handymen, so there is no handyman license. A handyman implies small jobs done below that $1,000 limit. And that also requires, if you're hiring a handyman to do unlicensed work, it has to be below $1,000, but it also has to be work that they can do independently without employees, and also work that does not require a permit. So even if it's over or under $1,000, but it requires a permit or employees, they have to be a licensed contractor. So something to be mindful of. Get that sales pitch in writing, because a really, really great handshake, a great verbal conversation gives you no legal protection. But the information in writing does, should you need it later. And down payments. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this later for the sake of time. I don't want to chug too long in the intro because I get really into making people smile and talking about all the beginning details. But the importance of down payments is this is legislation intended to protect consumers from paying a large amount, like a lump sum up front ahead of the work, and then the contractor abandoning the job, taking the money, and never finishing the job. That is why there is a limit to how much you can pay upfront ahead of the work being completed. So that is 10% or $1,000 of the total contract price, whichever is less. And I'll, like I said, elaborate on that a little more later and give a great example of the relevance of that. So when it comes to, okay, you've scared me, you've given me valuable information, now what can I do? Get at least 3 bids. Shop around, take your time. And again, don't feel pressure to hire the first person you talk to that gives you a quote. And ask to see that pocket license. This is a sample of what they look like that we issue at CSLB. And also, you want to ask for their proof of liability and workers' comp insurance if they have employees. The reason for that is if they don't have that insurance in place and one of their employees gets injured on your property, the homeowner is liable for that injury. We don't want that, which is why having workers' comp insurance is a licensing requirement. And like I said, detailed written contract. Make sure that you at least understand the key components of the contract. So the payment schedule, the job timeline, and the scope of work, things like that. Don't let payments get ahead of the work or pay for anything that's not up to your standards. So if anything is happening in a way you didn't expect, talk to your contractor first before you make any more payments. And then again, you're going to get yelled at about that down payment limit thing in our slides because it is so relevant. And this is a very current issue. And again, you'll hear more about that from me soon. But keep all your project documents, so your photos, your emails, the text messages, that contract, receipts. Keep it together in a place that you can easily access should you need to file a complaint or at least reach out to CSLB for advice later if you have issues. I know for any of you who grabbed our project folders from my CSLB table out there, that is a great way to store that information. And all consumers, so regardless of age, you all have 4 years from the date of the construction beginning to file a complaint should you need to do that, and maybe you don't realize it right away. I have people tell me about that all the time. And as well, so if you are 65 or older, you have a 5-day right to cancel a contract. Should you go, ooh, I signed that too soon. I don't feel good about this. What can I do? You do have that time, and anyone below the age of 65 has 3 days. So you have a little bit of leeway either way. We just want to give the proper amount of time to seniors. And then we will be doing a group Q&A at the end. All the speakers will answer all your questions. All right, so this is what I've been telling you about. So I want to briefly talk about ADUs. I know this is not something that you're necessarily going to be doing in this community, but I bring it up for a few key reasons that are still relevant for seniors to be familiar with. So ADUs in general, I'll go over this real fast. I know it's not super relevant, but they're accessory dwelling units that you have built either attached to your existing home or built onto your property detached. I talk about this in a senior presentation in general because these are very large, involved, expensive jobs that a lot of seniors or families who are trying to accommodate an aging loved one close to home are having done. What we see happening a lot is because they're so expensive, a lot of ADU companies, or not a lot, but some, are they're turning it in the scam direction, and what they're doing is they're taking these giant lump sums to cover materials and stuff up front, and they're abandoning the job and either not starting it or not completing it. And not to scare you that every ADU company is going to do that. There's fantastic contractors out there who do all different kinds of work, but we see this a lot, and I have spoken to some ADU scam victims myself, and they've all been seniors. So that's why it's better for you to know, even if maybe you're not going to have this built on, in Laguna Woods Village. It's important because should you have any type of very large, expensive job done, we want you to be prepared to make sure that they're going to work within construction laws in California and not take your money without doing fantastic work. So something to be mindful of. And again, do any of you here have solar installed on your homes? Is this something, okay, so this is something that technically can be done in the community. So be very wary of free solar programs that you see advertised, because no service, when you think about it, is truly free. Be very mindful, because if it's such a good deal and it's entirely free across the board, why is it only available right now, very high pressure? If it's a really, genuinely a really good deal, it should be available tomorrow. It should be available next week, right? So if any of you, even like out and about, run into this, or you have, let's say, a family member or a loved one who falls into this and recommends it to you, you never know. Be mindful that you want to make sure you check their license ahead, and you understand the contract in your own terms. And by that I mean the general key points make sense to you. The reason I say that is I've had several seniors either call or approach me at these events, and they tell me that they, either them or an aging loved one or friend, like I would say usually it's at least in their 80s, are pressured to sign these solar contracts unaware that there's language holding them liable for, like, this is a 25 to 30-year contract for someone well into their 80s. And I know that is a difficult topic to bring up, right? But I talk about it because we don't want you to be pushed into a scenario where you're in a contract that does not fit your needs, right? That doesn't make sense. And that is a way that some fraudulent solar entities are taking advantage of seniors. So make sure, if any of you are having solar done, make sure that there's nothing in that contract that just is not right for the situation. That is really valuable to you. And this is also a QR code that will take you to the solar page of our website. We have a lot more information on it there. And then, should you need to file a complaint or should you experience a scam, you can call us. You can file the complaint directly online, front page of our website here, where you can do it that way. We have our general email too. There's plenty of ways you can reach out to get that information. If you have questions after, feel free to ask me. I'm going to hurry it up now for the sake of my next two speakers, but the last thing that I want to go over with you before I conclude is checking a license. It is a very, very valuable resource, and I don't say that just because I'm paid to recommend these resources, right? I say this because it really helps you feel prepared ahead. Because one of the most important things that I tell seniors in these presentations is you want to feel confident and informed in your decision about the contractor you hire. This will help you do that. So if you go again, front page of our website, on the far left is our license check feature, as well as you can use our QR code. And again, these are not scam QR codes. They will not ask for your credit card information. They will take you to our website and nowhere else, I promise. The website link as well. So what it's gonna give you is an option to either put in a license number, the business name, the personnel name, so the person on the license, as well as a home improvement salesperson name or number. Real quick, what that means is a home improvement salesperson is a specific type of salesman-only license issued by us at CSLB for a salesman to sign the contract and go over like the initial stuff with you to sell the service on behalf of a company. So the company they're representing still has to have their own separate actual license. A salesman license alone doesn't license them to do the work. That just licenses a salesperson to sign the contract with you, to sell the service. I'd like to make sure that makes sense because sometimes it can be very confusing and we want to make sure that you know what bases you need to check ahead. So this is what a profile will look like when you search it. So it's going to give you the general information about the license and the contractor, as well as the status. And it's also going to give you the bond and workers' comp information and the classifications. What that means is it's going to show you what type of work that they are licensed to actually perform. The construction industry is massive. We license in 45 different classifications and subclassifications under that, which means that unless they're like a general contractor using subs to do specific things, let's say you need to get your roof repaired, that would require the contractor to have a roofing license. So a plumber who's licensed as a plumber can't be doing roofing work or landscaping, right, unless they have both classifications, if that makes sense. So the very last thing, this is not an example that has one on this profile, but should you look up a contractor that has had prior violations against them, as long as those cases, those investigations have been closed, that will show up on the profile when you search it, because that is public information. Okay, and again, here are our senior resources. These are available at my back table as well. We have an informational video, and also on our Senior Scam Stopper page on our website, we have a video version of my presentation should you know anyone who wasn't able to attend today or would like to have additional resources. We have lots on our website. So again, final contact information, I'll give you just a quick moment to take that. We have our call center, our general email, our outreach email that I run should you have questions about the presentation or about our program, and again, our senior webpage. So thank you so much. It has been an absolute pleasure to come back this year, and I'm now going to introduce Sally Westlake from DFPI.
Americans over the age of 60 lost $4.8 billion to fraud in 2024. And we know that's a 40% increase from 2023, and we know that number is going to be higher in 2025. Thank you all for being here today. Thank you to the Social Service Center, Lourdes, and the Contractor License Board for hosting this event. And again, thank you all for being here on this nice warm afternoon. So, what can you do to protect yourself from fraud? Protect yourself from financial frauds and scams so that you don't become the next victim of fraud. So I'm going to tell you who we are, what we do. And again, my name is Sally Westlake, and I'm the Targeted Outreach Specialist for the State Agency, Department of Financial Protection and Innovation. So a little disclaimer about my presentation. The opinions and views expressed in this presentation is that of my own and does not necessarily reflect the DFPI. The information I provide is for educational purposes only, and it is not financial advice. So please, if you need additional information, please visit us on our website at dfpi.ca.gov. If you remember anything from my presentation today, this is it. I want you to remember to stop, look, and think before you click on your phone, on your computer, tap, and send somebody money to somebody that you've never met in person, right? If you're being rushed into making a decision, right, hang up that phone, walk away from the computer, put that phone down, take a deep breath, 5 minutes. Think about it. Get help. Talk to somebody. Talk to a family member. Talk to a friend and say, wait a minute, I just got this call. I just got this email, right? Talk about it. And then you'll realize, wait a minute, this doesn't sound right. So this is who we are. We are the Department of Financial Protection Innovation, or DFPI for short. We are the California's financial regulator. We used to be called Department of Business Oversight. We are a consumer protection agency. We regulate, license, and oversee financial institutions, financial products, and financial professionals. So we conduct exams to ensure federal and state compliance. We want to make sure that these businesses, that these entities, these professionals are following the laws that's been set in place if they're going to conduct business in the state of California. We pursue legal actions, and we investigate consumer complaints. Consumer complaints come from you. If you think you've been scammed, if you have a question about fraud, you have a problem with one of our licensees, give us a call. You can submit a complaint online, and we educate consumers. Our goal at the DFPI is to educate all Californians so that you can make the best financial decision that is right for you at that time. So when I talk about the financial institutions, products, and professionals that we regulate, license, and oversee, this is a partial list. We're talking about your California state-chartered banks and credit unions. So not your Chase, not Wells Fargo, they're under federal jurisdiction. We're talking about your maybe Logix Credit Union, Bank of California, right? California state-chartered banks and credit unions. We hope that if you have an issue, that you're able to resolve the issue directly with that entity, but if you can't, you need help, something doesn't sound right, give us a call. Also, your residential mortgage originators, your loan services, your California finance lenders, your PACE administrators, your escrow agents, your payday loans, your money transmitters, and the list goes on. So you get the idea. Anything to do with the financial service, product, or a professional, give us a call if you need help. Now, here's our website at dfpi.ca.gov. I hope you had the opportunity to pick up a copy of the PowerPoint presentation. This is amazing, by the way. I do presentations like this 2-3 times a week throughout the Southern California region, and nobody prints out a PowerPoint slide like this. Most organizers don't print them at all, and if they do, they don't look as nice as this, right? So it's got all of our contact information as well as a packet of some resources, information that I have also at my table. Make sure you pick that up. But again, dfpi.ca.gov. Here's our telephone number, 866-275-2677. If you give us a call, on average, our wait time is 5 minutes. Okay? I see some mouths drop. It's true. We are not like some other state agencies out there, and I can't name them, right? But the ones that you call and you're on hold for like an hour, right? And it says you're next, okay, in the queue, and then all of a sudden it goes click. It's happened to me, right? You wonder what's wrong with that system. But on average, give us a call, and you do have to press a couple of buttons to make sure we route your call to the expert of that industry. But once that's done, the average wait time is about 5 minutes. So if you want to talk to a live person, you have questions, please give us a call. So do not respond to scammers. There are so many scams going on out there. Now, some get recycled, right? We've heard about some of these scams, and they've gotten better, right, using technology, right? Emails, the phishing emails that we used to hear about. Now, there are 3 main ways that these scammers are reaching out to our older adults, They're called vishing, phishing, and smishing. So vishing, right? Vishing is when they're calling you and they're leaving you voicemail messages, whether it's your landline or on your cell phone. Now again, technology allows our cell phone carriers to kind of, let you know, spam likely, right? Telemarketer. But it works also for the scammers as well. They use a technology called spoofing. They can make any phone number look like it's coming from somewhere else. That's why you can get a call that looks like it's coming from the IRS, right? AT&T, it's coming from your bank, right? Social Security Administration. You cannot believe the caller ID. If it's a real call, they're going to leave a message. And what happens? 9 out of 10, click. Robocalls. It costs these scammers pennies on the dollar to send out thousands of these robocalls. And they're just waiting for one of you to answer. That's all it takes. One of you. So, if you get a call, right, you're looking at the phone, you're looking at caller ID, and it's not on your contact list, it doesn't say Sally, it doesn't say, your favorite grandson Tommy on the caller ID, let it go into voicemail. What you're not going to do is hang up on that call. Do not hit the X, do not hit the red button. Because guess what? Once you hang up on that call, it allows the people on the other end to know that there was a live person hanging up on that call. So guess what? Your phone number is now a verified phone number. And you could actually end up with more marketing calls, more scammer calls, right? So you see the call, just hit the side where it just goes black on your screen, but it doesn't actually hang up on the call, right? Let it go into voicemail, and you can, if it's a real call, you can let it, respond to it later, right? Okay, so phishing, emails. Remember the emails 10 years ago that used to say a lawyer, attorney is presenting a Nigerian prince, and you just won $10 million, right? We'd love to give you $10 million, but all you have to do is pay $30,000 in fees. Like, please deduct the $30,000 from my $10 million, right? Why can't you do that? But those emails used to be so poorly written, right? Grammatical errors, and you're like, wait, this is an attorney? Come on, right? You went to law school, and this is what your email looks like? It was very easy to see, right? And protect yourself, but guess what? Not nowadays. ChatGPT, right? All the emails, very well written, no more grammatical errors. But guess what? Now they also use logos that says PayPal, Apple, Amazon, right? Wells Fargo. All it takes is a second to Google on the internet and say, image of Apple. And it pops up, right? From 10 years ago to their current image of Apple. All I have to do is copy it, paste it onto an email, and send it out, and somebody's gonna respond because the logo looks real. So here's a tip. If you get an email or a text that you were not expecting, right, out of the blue, and it's kind of giving you a sense of like, click here, call back this number, and right now there's a lot of the Geek Squad where they have charging you for an annual registration fee, right, of $100, and if you didn't or you have questions, call us here, right? All that. If you get those kinds of emails that you are not expecting, you're going to go to the source. You are not going to respond to that email. You are not going to click on any links. We were told years ago that don't open up any attachments, right? We all learned the hard way. Don't open any attachments to an email. Now you can't click on any links. You can't respond or call that number that's in an email that you were not expecting. You're going to verify by going to the source. You're going to really Google, right? Geek Squad customer service phone number. And about 3, 4, 5 deep down on the links, That's the real number, the verified number. That's who you call and that's who you confirm. So, do not send money to somebody you've never met in person. Do not engage. It is the scammer's full-time job to get you to send them money, to get you to share your personal identifying information. These scammers are very good at what they do. It is their full-time job is to get one of you to send them money. And guess what? People are doing it. Because if it didn't work, if the scam didn't work, if people weren't sending them money, they would change their tactics. They would change the type of scam that they'd be working on. All right, so the last one is smishing. I know I got a little, couple of snickers. It's called smishing, and that's when they're sending you text messages, SMS messages. Now, we've all gotten those text messages that says toll road. You've driven on the toll road, you didn't pay, so we're going to hold your DMV registration and click on this link that says bit.ly/453@gmail.kr or China, right, a foreign country. And in this area, I guess you might think about it a second more because there are toll roads out here. But in some areas, in Central Valley where there are no toll roads, people still click on that link to let them know that, no, I didn't drive on the toll road, that this is a mistake. Again, you get a text message like that, do not respond. Do not click on that link. You are not going to block that text message. What are you going to do? Delete that text message. If you block that number, guess what? Again, you're letting the other party know that there's a person at this end, right? That's a verified number, right? Just delete, and if you really think there could be an issue, you go to the source. You confirm and you verify by going to the source. All right, so beware of these scams. Now, I don't have 3 hours. The Lord just didn't give me 3 hours today to be up here to talk about all these different types of scams. And this is only a partial list, right? But the biggest category is what I like to call imposter scams. Because realistically, everyone out there, all these scammers out there are pretending to be somebody that they're not, right? They're being an imposter so that they could get you to send them money or share your personal identifying information. So I am going to be going over a few of these scams, as well as I talked to a couple of people earlier today when they were checking in, that there were some concerns about mail fraud in this neighborhood. So I want to make sure I leave a few minutes at the end also to talk about mail fraud and some of the protection, things that you can do to protect yourself from becoming a victim. So, government and business imposter scams. Okay? Big tip. Government agencies do not call you out of the blue. They don't have time. Okay? You ask to be called and they don't even call you back. So what makes you think, right, that the IRS, Social Security Administration, DMV, is calling you and telling you that, hey, you didn't pay your tax return for 2023 of $2,500. And this is Mr. Smith. And if you don't call me back today and make the payment over the phone, we're going to go ahead and issue a warrant for your arrest. Guess what? Government agencies don't threaten you with arrest, right? They don't tell you, hey, we're going to issue a warrant to scare you. And what are you going to do? If that was me, I'd leave the house, right? So you are not getting a warning. Everything from a government agency, if they need to reach you, especially regarding past payments, they're going to do it in writing, right? A couple of times in writing, and then it'll be certified mail, right? And so on. So again, government agencies do not call you out of the blue. They do not threaten you with arrest, and they don't take payment over the phone. They don't tell you to go to Walmart and buy gift cards, right? They don't tell you to go to the ATM cryptocurrency machine inside 7-Eleven and put in $1,000. They don't do that. And if anybody asks you to make payment like that, red flags, right? Areas of concern. Same thing. If it's a fraud alert from your bank, right? If you get a text message that says, hey, this is Chase Bank, we see fraudulent activity in your account, right? Click here, verify here, call us here. First of all, if I don't have a Chase account, that's fake. But at the same time, if I do have a Chase account, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to call the number on the back of my Chase debit card. The number on the back of my credit card, that's the only real number. You can also Google it, or guess what? Drive yourself down to the bank. You guys are retired. Give yourself 10 minutes and drive yourself down to the bank and say, I got an alert. Is this real? That's what you're going to do. Verify by going to the source. If somebody tells you to move money here, right, because your account's been compromised, we're going to help you move the money to a different account. So go ahead. We're going to send you a text message with the code, right? Did you get the code? Okay, go ahead and read me the code number. Wrong. If somebody tells you to give me your password, right? Give me your code that we're sending to you right now. Red flag. Scam alert. Verify by going to the source. Again, do not send money to somebody you've never met in person. Tech support scams. Now, I didn't talk to anybody today that this is happening in this area, but this, again, has cycled over and over and over. Anybody see the movie Beekeeper? One guy, yes. Okay, there we go. I love it. Yes. Okay? Fantastic movie. It's loosely based on tech support scam, right? Where a lady lost millions of dollars because of a tech support scam. Now, it doesn't start by somebody telling you to give us $1 million. That's not how it happens. You first get a pop-up ad, and it can have sound most of the time that says, virus alert, virus alert. Okay, your computer's been infected. Call us right now. Call us this minute, right? Problem with your computer. And for $399.99, we can help you remove and clean up your computer of that virus. And it might have logos that we all recognize, like McAfee, Norton, Microsoft, right? If it has one of those logos on there, we all think, oh, it must be real, right? Because who would use a real logo to commit fraud? But guess what? Once you call that number, that toll-free number, 1-888-SCAMS, right? This is where you're calling, okay? A scam center. It is no longer Joe Schmo at the basement of his parents' house committing fraud. These are businesses, huge enterprises, lots of times in foreign countries, but also in the U.S., where it's a scam call center. And this is actually a pretty picture. Not all scam call centers look like this. It can be deplorable conditions, but they're waiting for you to call that toll-free number to remove that virus. And when you get call, one of these agents answers and they go, we got a live one. Okay, we've got somebody who's got time, who's got money, who needs help. And so when you call that number, and they say, oh, yeah, Mrs. Jones, we can help you remove that virus. Okay? And you're like, yeah, I'm not tech savvy. I need help. Because you were, I don't know, on Facebook, shopping on Facebook, right? Watching your grandkids' video, and you're like, okay, I need help. But guess what happens? Once you call that number and they get your credit card number, they say, you know what, Mrs. Jones, it's a bigger problem than we initially thought. So it's now going to be $1,000. And you're like, really? Okay, all right, I don't know what to do, so okay. Well, Mrs. Jones, you need to download, okay, this app. You need to upload, right, these apps. And you're like, well, I don't know how to do that. That's why I called you. If I knew how to do those things, I wouldn't be calling you. And you're like, no problem, Mrs. Jones. I can go ahead and take care of that for you. If you don't know how to download, upload, I'm going to go ahead and send you this little box. It's going to pop up on your screen that says remote access. And all you have to do is approve it, right? And that lets me download and help you fix up and clean up your computer. And you're like, okay. So you click on it. Guess what? You just now gave the scammer access to everything on your computer. Whatever is stored on there. Your email account, your financial accounts, your bank statements, everything in your email, right? You've got statements. You've got your bank statements, right? Wells Fargo, Chase, all these banks want you to do everything online. So it's all on there. You just gave them access to your entire life. And guess what? From that, as a result, they start asking you for more and more money. And you're thinking, I wouldn't fall for that. But guess what? When these scammers, now remember I mentioned that these scammers are very good at what they do. It is their full-time job, right, to scam you out of money. And so when they call you, they're no longer so nice because they're now threatening you. They say, well, you know what, Mrs. Jones, we've noticed from your account, right, that you've been accessing these illegal sites. And if you don't send us $10,000, we're going to go ahead and report you to law enforcement. And you're like, I didn't do that. What are you talking about? I didn't do that. But you get scared. You're being threatened. And you're like, okay. You don't know who you should talk to. You're embarrassed, right, that you're being scammed. And so you may go to the bank and withdraw that money. Next, it's another $50,000 that they want because they realize that you were accessing porn sites, right? And they're going to let everybody in your contact list, your grandkids, your friends, let them know these illegal sites that you've been visiting. Now, I get snickers and I get people going, no, that wouldn't happen. But guess what? In Santa Barbara, a lady reported losing $500,000, okay, to a tech support scam. Again, it started at $399.95. It grew, kept growing and growing. And guess what? These scammers can access your financial accounts. They know how much money you have, right? It happens. So it's up to you to protect yourself. So cyber safety, I'll go over it briefly here. Passwords, right? We've been told, change your password, change your password. And so we kept changing passwords, and then we kind of ran out of good passwords. And our actual passwords that we started to enter got easier and easier. But guess what? They want you to have at least 8 up to 12, 16 characters in your password. You need to have a specific, unique password for each of your accounts. I know that's a lot. I don't care what method you use to remember it, to store it. Preferably not on sticky notepads that you stick on your computer screen, because if anybody comes inside your house, they can see it, and what do they need to do? Pull out their phone and take a picture of it, right? So they could see your passwords. So make sure, but you do have a unique password. Copycat sites. You got to remember, when you type in, let's say you want to go on Amazon, you want to shop on Amazon. If you're in a hurry and you type one letter wrong, instead of Amazon.com, C-O-M, you type in Amazon.con, you could actually end up at a fake site that you didn't realize you were at a fake site, right? One letter off, and you're at a fake site that looks real. And you won't know until much later when you look at your statement that there's money missing, that you were actually at a fake site and you thought you were buying something and you're entering your credit card information. So verify, look at the URL address. Two-step verification, MFA, multi-factor authentication. Even Google, when you're signing into your Gmail account, wants you to take this extra step. It's just the second step. I know it's painful. I know it takes an extra 20 seconds for you to do. But when your account tells you to set this up, I want you to do it. It's just extra protection. They want to make sure that your account didn't get hacked into it, so that they want to make sure you at least have your cell phone or access to your email account, right? A second step to further protect you. And then also, what is that? Okay, secure networks, right? So look on the left on your URL address. They want to make sure, see that little lock? They want to make sure that it's closed, that it's not open. If it's closed, it confirms that you're visiting a secure website. It should also say HTTPS. It has to have that S. If it doesn't have the S, it is not a secured site that you're about to go onto. Okay, so 5 top ways scammers like to be paid, right? Wire transfer, bank transfers. And then we've got, let's see, cash, crypto assets, gift cards and prepaid debit cards, and gold bars. So let's talk about bank wire transfers. You have maybe 24 to 48 hours to stop a bank or a wire transfer if you think you've been scammed. First thing you need to do is contact your financial institution to see if you can stop that transfer. Second is cash. Green cash. The scammers will stay on the phone with you when they're threatening you while you drive yourself down to the bank, withdraw $5,000, $10,000, and then put it in a brown paper bag and leave it outside your door. It happens. It's not, and you're thinking like, who's going to leave cash outside their door? Guess what? Happened in Simi Valley, right, where the police officer was notified, and they caught the guy that was actually picking it up. But he wasn't the, quote, scammer. He was actually just a delivery person. He didn't know what he was there to pick up. He was just told to pick up the brown paper bag and he'll be given $100, okay? Another one, crypto assets. Did you know there are ATM-looking machines like at liquor stores, 7-Eleven, some 7-Elevens, right, that look like an ATM machine, but they're actually cryptocurrency machines. They've now passed a law where they're limiting a consumer to be able to only put in $1,000 into that machine to buy crypto assets. Because seniors were being threatened to go and put in money into these machines, and they had no idea what they were doing. Gift cards, prepaid debit cards, you know that. Gold bars. Who's a member of Costco? Oh, hey, good percentage. Guess what? Did you know Costco sells gold bars? Yes, they sell gold bars. Guess what? The scammers know that as well. So they're telling you to go buy gold bars at Costco, and again in a brown paper bag, leave it outside your door. Some you're being told to FedEx it. It's happening. We're all laughing about it, but what do all of these payment methods have in common? Once it's gone, it's hard to trace. The likelihood of you getting your money back is very slim to zero. That's why scammers use these common methods. So again, if somebody you've never met in person is asking you to send money in these ways, red flags. Again, talk to somebody you trust. All right, so how to avoid a scam? Don't answer calls from an unknown number, right? I talked about that, unless it's in your contact list. Delete any spam emails or text messages. Don't give your personal or financial information in response to a request that you didn't expect, right? You didn't reach out to this entity and they're, out of the blue, they're emailing you, texting you, asking you to confirm, verify your date of birth, your social security number. Red flags. Change your passwords if you think your password's been compromised. Create a family safe phrase. Family safe phrase. What is this? It's like a password that's shared between your family members. Anybody in your family that it basically has a cell phone, you need to share it with. But that passphrase cannot be something that can be found on the internet or on your social media. Nothing on Facebook. So it can't be your favorite vacation spot. It can't be, your last high school you went to. None of those things that a scammer can find on the internet. It's got to be something random. I met Sally at the scam prevention seminar. Right? How is a scammer going to know that you attended that event? Right? Blue and red are my 2 least favorite colors. It's got to be something so random, and then you share that with all your family members. So if you ever get that call for a grandparent or relative scam where they're saying, Mom, Grandma, I've been kidnapped. Mom, I've been kidnapped. I need help. I need money. You ask them, can you ask my grandson Tommy what our family safe phrase is? That's what you're doing. Another level of protection. But again, it doesn't work if you don't share that with all your family members, right? Okay, resist the pressure to act immediately. I know Kara mentioned it. If somebody tells you to do this right now, you have to do this minute. Remember what I said? Stop, look, and think. Know how scammers tell you how scammers tell you to pay, right? And stop and talk to somebody you trust. Verify if there really is an issue by going to the source, and then you want to report frauds and scams. So where do you report fraud? How do you report fraud? First step, if it's a financial fraud or a scam, you're coming to us. You can go on our website, file a formal complaint. You can give us a call if you're not tech savvy. And then you want to go to your local law enforcement. Now, they're busy. They may not be able to investigate your claim, especially maybe you didn't have a loss yet, or there's nobody on the other end, right? There's no IP address. They can't find, if you sent money through the crypto, currency machine, they're not going to be able to track that. So even though they can't investigate, you still want to go ahead and report it, and then you're going to get that report number, and then you're going to go to the Federal Trade Commission and report it to the FTC. And then if it's a cyber or internet crime, you're going to go to the FBI's Internet Crime Report Center. Now, the last two places, FTC and the FBI, once you report it, what they're doing is gathering the data, gathering all the information about the scams that are happening out there. And then they're going to try to see if there is somebody on the other end that they can make a case against. And only then, and if they can, or they need additional information, that's when you'll be contacted. So just because you filed a claim with them doesn't mean they're going to get something in writing. They're going to send you an email to let you know, hey, we're going to investigate. All right? Then, if you or somebody you know, 60 plus, has been a victim of fraud and you need help, okay? You want to talk to somebody. You're not tech savvy. You forgot. Sally told me where to report fraud. I forgot. I don't know where to go for help. This is it. The National Elder Fraud Hotline. You can talk to a coordinator. You can talk to a live person and say, I think I've been a victim of fraud. I don't know what to do. I need help. I need somebody to talk to. They will walk you through the steps. They can even actually help you file the report, right? So this is a great resource to have. You can find it on the PowerPoint presentation or take a picture of this number here at 833-372-8311. All right, so again, this is my contact information. All the pamphlet and brochures that I've had at my table will have this. You can also email us if you have any questions. And then we also have a great monthly newsletter called the Consumer Connection. Once a month, we send out an email if you sign up for the service, and we let you know about what's happening in the financial services industry in the state of California, about the different type of scams that we're noticing, that we're recognizing, as well as the events that we're also participating at. So if you'd like to join us at a different event. We also have a wealth of information on our website, something called the Cyber Crypto Scam Tracker, where you can see some of the common crypto scams that are being reported in the state of California. So, remember, stop, look, and think before you click, tap, or send somebody money that you've never met in person. You guys have been a great audience. Now we are going to go ahead and take your questions at the end. And again, if you need additional information, please see me afterwards as well. Thank you so much, everyone.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for your patience. My name is Melissa Rosser. I work with the California Privacy Protection Agency, or you can refer to us by our nickname, which is Cal Privacy. Thank you so much to the Laguna Woods Village for having us today, and thank you for my colleagues. I've seen the DFPI presentation and the Contractors Board presentation a few times, but I always learn something. So thank you for that. By the end of our time together today, I hope to share with you some information or tips about how to protect your personal information. And so where do we fit in compared to what my colleagues have talked to you about today? My hope is to give you some tips to keep your personal information from the scammers and fraudsters, the vishers, which I didn't know about, smishers and fishers. And I'm going to go over things pretty quickly, just out of consideration of time. But we have a whole lot of information on our website, which is privacy.ca.gov. If you can't remember that, I'm going to repeat it a few more times, but also I have some handouts on the table outside that you can grab on your way out. So today we're going to talk a little bit about what our agency does, understanding your personal information and why it's important to protect it. Go over your privacy rights. As a Californian, you have a lot of privacy rights, and practical tips for how to exercise those rights. And then lastly, we have a brand new tool that's just come out called the Drop System that you can use, and I'll go over all of that with you. So just quickly, our agency came about it was voted by the California voters in 2020, so you may remember voting for us. And so we've just been around for a little while. We have a few functions. Our legal team creates rules and regulations for businesses to follow to honor Californians' privacy rights. We educate consumers like the other agencies that you've seen today. And then we also have enforcement division who make sure that businesses are following privacy rights. Our policy and legislative team helps to pass laws to strengthen your privacy rights. And then lastly, I'll talk to you about our drop system, which is brand new. Okay, so what is personal information? Basically, it's any data that can connect a business to you. Your name, your email address, your location, your address, your financial information, anything that can help them to connect the dots with you as a person. Some of this information is considered more sensitive, and your sensitive personal information is more protected, such as your social security number, your biometric data, your geolocation. These are all considered to be more sensitive. So why do we talk about personal information? Why is it important? And I just want to emphasize that we're trying to get you to think about your personal information differently. Does anybody here like to shop? Any shoppers? Online, in person, doesn't matter. What do they ask for now? Pretty much every time you check out. Huh? Can I get your email address? Can I get your phone number so we can keep up with you and we can send you coupons? I was recently at a store with my 10-year-old and her friend. They gave a discount for getting your receipt emailed to you. Their eyes lit up. Ooh, coupon for next time. I was like, no, no, no. Information, personal information is the new currency driving our economy. Businesses trade that information. They make money off of your information. You don't get that money back though. But that's why it's really important when somebody asks you for your personal information, even if it's a business that you've been working with for a long time, just pause and think, do they really need that right now? Do they really need that for this business? So just something to stop and think about. So how is your information collected? It can be collected a lot of ways. As you do activity online, whether it's on your computer or on your mobile device, your activity can be tracked with what you're purchasing, with information that you're inputting. If you're posting things on social media, that can all be tracked. Also with your purchasing data, businesses may keep up with that and then try to, advertise to you later, or they could also sell or share that information to other businesses. And then lastly are third-party sources, which I kind of just referenced. So sometimes there are businesses that you haven't personally interacted with, but they may have your data, and that's a huge risk for preventing scams and fraud. So we'll talk about that. So Californians are blessed with many privacy rights, arguably more than any other state in the country. So it's really exciting, right? You have a lot of protections. The downside is that you do have to exercise those rights. You don't just automatically have them. You have to do things to exercise them. And since we're a government agency, we came up with the fun acronym to help you remember your rights. You have the right to limit information that you provide. You don't have to fill out a whole form if you don't think that business needs that information. You can limit it. You have the right to opt out. You have the right to opt out of having your information sold or shared. You have the right to correct information. If businesses have information about you that's incorrect, you have the right to correct it. You have the right to know what do they have about you and why are they collecting it, for what purpose. You also have the right to equal treatment, whether or not you choose to exercise your privacy rights. If you choose to exercise your privacy rights, it should mean that you have to pay higher prices. It should mean that you get less services. Regardless of whether you exercise your privacy rights, you should have equal treatment. And then lastly, you have the right to delete your information or to request that your information be deleted. So that's a lot, so I'm just going to give you a few quick tips on how you can do this practically. So like I said, this is a quick crash course. Our website is privacy.ca.gov. We are regularly trying to update the tips that we provide on that website. We have a blog that comes out twice a month. We're getting ready to come out with a newsletter. So if you want to sign up for our newsletter, I have a sign-up sheet outside. We don't collect anything, just your email address. And just what we need. There's no names in there. We really just try to do the bare minimum. But you can also just visit our website to get this information as well. Okay, so this is for like if you're on your computer. Do people still use a computer to go online sometimes? Okay, I do too sometimes. I like a big screen. So one of the things that you can do to limit the selling and sharing of your information is you can go into your settings and you can delete the browsing data that's there. You can just do that every so often, just delete it. And then you can also delete any third-party cookies. Cookies sound delicious, but they're little files that are stored on your computer that enable businesses to track your activity as you move around the internet. So you can delete those periodically as well. Have you guys noticed a few years ago, started getting like pop-up banners when you go to a website, and it's like accept all, deny all. It has all these different little options, right? So if you're somebody, you're visiting different websites, you're worried about your personal information getting sold or shared, you have the right to opt out of the sell and share of your data. And so you can just take a few extra seconds to opt out of selling your information whenever you visit a website. And I know that's a little tedious, but it is something that you could do to protect yourself. And then sometimes they don't have the banner. And so on a website that doesn't have the banner, you may have to look around a little bit for a privacy policy or privacy options. Unfortunately, it's usually down at the very bottom of the page. But it's kind of fun when you get there because, California will sometimes have its own little section. And so then you can opt out of your privacy rights or exercise your privacy rights. And if you're worried that a business isn't doing that, they should have a contact that you can reach out to, and you can exercise your rights that way. So if that seems like a lot of work to you, if you're somebody who you like to bounce around and not really worried about your information being tracked, you can use something that's called an opt-out preference signal. We call it an oops, which I think is kind of like tricky, but it's easier than saying opt-out preference signal. An opt-out preference signal is something, I forget the word. It goes on your browser, And it communicates with every website that you visit. And it says, hey, Melissa doesn't want her information sold or shared, okay? And so if you use it, every website that you go to is getting that communication. And so if you're curious about opt-out preference signals and you want to learn more, you can go to a website. It's called globalprivacycontrol.org. Globalprivacycontrol.org. And I have that on my handout outside too, if you want to grab it. But so if you go to that website, you can download an extension. That's the word I was looking for, extension on your browser. And then you can use, it works with the browsers, it works with Firefox, it works with DuckDuckGo, it works with Brave. It's also an extension of Chrome. And so again, it's globalprivacycontrol.org, where you can download the extension. Now for some good news, a shout out to our legislation and policy team. A bill passed during the last legislative session. And so starting next year, all browsers are going to have to offer an opt-out preference signal. But if you want to protect yourself in the meantime, go to globalprivacycontrol.org. Okay. Who likes to go on the internet on your phone or your tablet? Yeah, it's fun, right? It goes everywhere with you. Fun fact, I was doing a presentation in Downey a couple of weeks ago with one of Sally's colleagues, and a woman came up to us after we finished our presentation. She'd been on Facebook, while we were having the presentation, and unfortunately, there was a Social Security, or not Social Security, a passport scam that she got on Facebook, so we had to talk her through that. So anyways, so some things that you can do to stay safe while you are on your mobile device, and these are all available in your settings, in your privacy settings. You can reset what's called your mobile advertising ID, and so this enables, or it stops advertisers from tracking you as you're doing different things online, and so you can do that. You can also adjust your app settings. So when you go into your settings, you probably have a list of all the apps that you've downloaded. How many of you have ever downloaded an app, used it once, and then forgotten about it? I've done that many a time. You forgot about it, but it hasn't forgotten about you. So just make sure every so often you go into your app permissions and say to yourself, does this app need access to my location all the time? Does this app need access to my camera? Maybe not. Maybe it doesn't need access to everything you have to offer. Maybe it only needs certain things to function. And so that's something that you can do. It just takes a few minutes. Lastly, you can also turn off third-party trackers that are integrated with your mobile apps, and you can do that again if you go into your privacy settings, either on your iPhone or your Android device. So both will enable you to do that. So what we've talked about has sounded really good, right? There's a lot of empowering things that you can do to protect your privacy. You can contact businesses and say, hey, do not sell, do not share my data. You can adjust the settings on your mobile apps. But what do you do if you exercise your privacy rights and you don't get a response, or you get a lot of delays because they don't have forever? They need to respond within 45 days. Or if they just refuse, what do you do? So you can file a complaint with our agency. It's privacy.ca.gov/complaints, but if you go to our website, complaints is really prominent, so you shouldn't have any trouble finding it. And so you submit some information. You can submit it with your contact information if you want to make yourself available for our team to contact you if they have questions, or you can also submit it anonymously. We'll take it either way. And our enforcement team reviews every complaint. And they should circle back with you after they've completed their investigation, just to let you know, like, we're working on it, or if it falls under the authority of a different agency, that kind of thing. And so if something doesn't work out, just remember you can file a complaint with our team. Okay, now for some exciting news, some news that's off the presses. So in 2023, the California legislature passed the DELETE Act. And this requires, we haven't talked about this yet. Have any of you ever heard of a data broker? Have you guys heard of that? A few of you? Oh, this is good. Okay, good job. The DELETE Act requires data brokers to register with our agency. We put them on our data broker registry, and it also required us to create a system that enables Californians to delete their information from data brokers. So what is a data broker? So most of you probably haven't heard of them because it's not a business that you directly interact with usually. They buy and sell personal information. That is their business model. That is how they make money. And so you wouldn't have a direct relationship with them. And so it creates a really, it's a big concern for protecting your personal information, because how are you supposed to protect your information from an entity you don't know exists? And so the DELETE Act did take a big step in enabling individuals to protect their personal information. However, up until recently, individuals who wanted to exercise this right had to contact each data broker individually and say, hey, could you delete my information? Does anybody want to guess how many data brokers there are that are registered in the state of California? Okay, not that many, not in the thousands, thank goodness. Right now we have, I think, almost 600 that are registered. So can you imagine sending an email? Sometimes they have follow-up questions. Oh my gosh, that would take forever. That's not really helpful. And so we are working, so we talked about the concerns. They have your information, you can't keep track of it, and it gets sold to other entities, right? And so that's why we have to be protected when we're talking about data brokers. Okay, sorry. I got a little ahead of myself. So we'll go back and talk, you guys, I feel like we've talked a lot about the concerns with different entities. But just so you know, data brokers, they create these profiles on people, and they try to figure out, what age range is this person? Where are they? Who are their relatives? So that, it's really a breeding ground, as you can see, for the scam activities that have been talked about earlier. It enables them to be able to create fake identities, and then also leading to the phishing and phone scams. So enter the DELETE Act, which passed again in 2023. It expands deletion rights of customers, and also creates just transparency, so we can see, who's doing this, who's part of this business. And then it required our agency to build a deletion mechanism, which we call, it's the Delete Request and Opt-out Platform, or DROP. So DROP was just launched on January 1st. It is brand new. It enables you to request the deletion of your personal information from every data broker at the same time. And so that way you don't have to contact 500 companies one by one. You can submit your request one time, and they have to delete the information. Now, because this just launched, we're still in the early stages. So data brokers right now have until August to start deleting data. But once they do, once we get to that point, they'll have 45 days to delete the data requests that they've received so far. And then after that, every 45 days, they'll have to delete it again. And so if they get more information about you after you've deleted, they have to go back and delete it again. You don't have to do anything but just one time. You just have to sign up, create your profile, say, I want my information deleted, and then after that, they have to be continually deleting information from all the Californians who have signed up. And so you can go ahead and go onto the website. I'll talk you through the process. So this is very high level of the 3-step process. I'll get into more detail about this process, but it takes an average of 8 minutes. That's how long it's taking for people to complete their deletion requests. So the first thing that you have to do, because this is only available to Californians, so the first thing that you have to do is verify that your residency is in California. So you can do this by providing us with your personal information, and then you can also use login.gov, which is a website used by like Social Security Administration, the Veterans Administration, to verify your residency. So that's the first step. The second step is to create a request by entering some of your data. There's going to be a lot of questions on there. You don't have to put them all in. Just know that the more information that you give, the more likely it is the data broker will be able to match your information within their system. So data brokers will compare this information with their databases. And then the last step is to submit your request. Once you submit your request, you will get a drop ID number. You should hold on to that, keep it in a safe place, because you can use that to go back and check the status of your request. And so after we get to August, when the data brokers will actually start to delete information, you'll be able to see who all has deleted your information. And again, they have to do that process every 45 days once they get to that point. So far about 230 Californians have signed up and they've submitted their deletion requests. We're onboarding the data brokers right now, and we're hoping in August everything goes smoothly. So what happens next? Like I said, data brokers begin processing the requests in August. Once you sign up and you create your account, you can check your drop status using your drop ID anytime. And then also you can edit or add information. And so one of the identifiers that we ask for is like if you have a smart TV, if you get a new smart TV, you can go back and add that as well so that it'll also be deleted from data brokers. So just some more high-level information about drop. But once we get to the point where data brokers are deleting information, if you see any problems or have any that you're concerned about, please feel free to file a complaint by visiting our website, privacy.ca.gov. And that's it for me today. Thank you so much for your time. If you have any questions, I'll be around for a little bit. You can visit our website. Thank you.
Yes. I think the second lady said you also talked about mail fraud and never heard.
Yes, I was running out of time, so I didn't get to touch bases on the mail fraud. But again, mail fraud still occurs. So these criminal organizations are stealing mail out of the blue mailboxes or out of your mailboxes at home, outside of your house. So what do you need to do to be careful? Take your mail to the post office and drop it off there, inside, okay? That is safer. It is not the only way, but at least putting it into the mail slot in the post office during open hours is one of the safer ways that we can protect ourselves. Also, if you're writing checks and you're mailing checks, consider buying a anti-fraud gel pen. $3 to $5, you can buy it at Office Depot, you can buy it on Amazon. You are not just buying any regular gel pen. You want to buy anti-fraud gel pen, because if you write a check with using those pens and the check gets stolen, the scammers currently cannot wash off that ink. Okay, that is so. If you are writing 1, 2, 3 checks a month, invest in that $3 to $5 pen so that you can protect yourself. Want to take his question?
My check was stolen. I went inside the post office, and my rent check that goes to Santa Barbara every month, it was stolen. I got my money back, but my landlord's 85 and he doesn't want to do electronic transfer. So every time I send my check tracker at the Lake Forest post office in the big envelope, I live in fear is he going to get it. And right now, he still didn't get it. I did it a week later. I may have to send the check overnight. I mean, this is so stressful. And it's only because what B of A told me, because it's Laguna Woods, because in an over 55 development, there's a lot more of a scam going on.
Yes, and so a comment again is about mail fraud and what he can do, the next steps to protect himself. Again, use an anti-fraud gel pen. Again, it isn't 100% foolproof, right? Just because you put that letter into the post office. But again, because it can be stolen at the other end, right? Through that process. Even mail gets stolen off mailmen's trucks. It can get stolen off the, mailbox at the other end. So nothing is 100% foolproof. But you should also be looking at your financial accounts. Look at your bank accounts on a regular basis. Make sure you look at the checks, right? It's all digitized, right? Photocopy front and back, who signed for it, so you can see. And the sooner you can catch any mistake, any discrepancy, and it gets reported, the sooner you can potentially get your money back and protect yourself. Thank you.
Hi, this question is addressed more to Sally. Can everyone hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
When we want to report fraud, this is the first time I've heard to contact DFPI. I've always been told to contact your local law enforcement agency, the FBI, FTC, but the most important one I didn't do. And so, I don't know, you guys have been around for a long time, but why is it information not seemingly out in the public domain? Because I asked them, who should I ask them, meaning, public agency officials, who should I contact? I was told the second, third, and fourth, but not the first one.
So again, we did have a name change, Department of Business Oversight, and then we also merged with also Department of Financial Protection, and then with the new law that passed in 2023 is why we came up with the new name, DFPI. So there are so many state agencies out there that I can't even name all of them, but just know that there are consumer protection agencies for just about every entity, every business out there. So if you don't know who to go to, contact one state agency, and they should be able to tell you that, hey, we're not the regulator, but go here, go there. There is I forget the state agency, but Consumer Protection Agency for the state, as well as even Council on Aging. I know they do a lot of work here, but if you went to Council of Aging, they can also open up the case file on your behalf, and then they would know to contact us as well, right? So unfortunately, we apologize. We do as much outreach and education as we can. There are only now 5 of us on the outreach team, that cover the entire state, and we do as much consumer education as we can. Thank you. Oh.
Yes, and this question is also for Sally or Melissa. I was a victim of ID fraud 2 months ago, and I suspect that now my information is being sold in the dark web. Yep. How do you prevent that from happening, or what are best practices under those circumstances?
You want to start? Okay.
Sure, yeah, I can start. And so definitely by following the tips that I've given you today, that will help to protect your information from further being sold or shared. I believe also you can report identity theft on the Department of Justice website. They have an identity, and the FTC. Oh, okay. Website.
Okay, so his question is about he's a victim of identity theft. Thank you for sharing that with us. I do have a specific brochure from the FTC on how to recover from identity theft and what steps to take. 2 months in, there's a lot of things you're going to do. Unfortunately, it's all up to you to do it. You have to follow these steps. You have to try to prevent any other misuse of your information, which is also reporting it to all the credit reporting agencies, all 3 of the credit reporting agencies. And then it's going to be up to you to make sure you monitor your information, right? To make sure that nobody's opening up accounts in your name using your information. So it's not an easy thing to do, but talking about how your information is sold in the dark web, bad news. We've all been victims, been susceptible to data breaches, right? Which means most of our information is already out there, is now on the dark web, okay? The only thing we don't know is that when your information is actually going to be sold and used by a scammer, right, to commit that fraud. That's the only unknown. But most of our information is already out there. So that means you need to be looking at your credit reports, doing a freeze on your credit report, and I have the flyer on my table about why you need to freeze your credit. You need to consistently check all your accounts. You need to be looking at your cell phone, if you have a smartphone, looking at different apps that are downloaded that you did not authorize, right? And what you need to do if you lose your cell phone, right? Reset your cell phone. So there's steps that you can do to protect yourself. Again, it's entirely up to us, up to the consumer nowadays. Thank you.
If I freeze my credit reports on my broker's account, will that freeze it all the way around? They have a special deal where they'll freeze all 3.
Okay, when you're talking about okay, so her question's about freezing your credit. There is only one federally government-approved website, annualcreditreport.com, and that's on my flyer, that gives you a free credit report from all 3 of the credit reporting agencies. You need to freeze it with all 3. So I don't know which service or broker account that is freezing it for you. If that works for you and you know it's being done, great, right? Freezing your credit is free. You can freeze it today. 24 hours later, if you decide you're going to co-sign on your favorite grandson's car loan and you need to unfreeze your credit, you need to do it with all 3. And then when you're done, then you can all go back and freeze your credit again. That protects you from being a victim of identity theft, because that means you can't open up any more accounts, you can't get credit, you can't get a loan, but guess what? Neither can the scammer.
Can you give that,
The website?
the federal website?
Okay, so it's annualcreditreport.com. The flyer that I handed out, it has it on there. Now, just know that there are the 3 major credit reporting agencies, but nowadays there's a lot more mid-size and smaller size credit reporting agencies as well. But we're talking about the major 3.
Should we answer these calls, all these surveys? You go to a store and you get a survey, you go here, you get a survey. Should we do those surveys?
Okay, so you go to the store, Macy's, and you buy something, and at the bottom it says, yeah, go ahead and fill out a survey. They want to know how their employees are doing. Well, guess what? Every time you do anything like that, you're putting more of your information out there, right? So unless, you want to enter for a $500 gift card by filling out that survey and you feel really lucky that you're going to win, I don't. Only because I don't want to spend that extra 5 minutes online and providing more of my information out there, right? So it's entirely up to you. Again, if you feel lucky and you're going to win that gift card, great.
I
like the gentleman in front, I'm a victim of a scam through the Wells Fargo Bank, which has been fantastic. And it recently was concluded, to my satisfaction, all the funds returned, new bank account numbers, everything was, as we used to say, proven. But then they attacked again. And now I'm back into the same situation. This time, Wells Fargo was way ahead of them and stopped everything. So at this moment in time, my accounts with my sister are frozen, and that's fine. And then this Saturday, we will unfrozen with another set of new bank account numbers. So be alert, and I had some feeling about it, and it came true. They came back at us.
Yes, thank you for sharing that, and I am excited to hear that Wells Fargo was on top of it, and they've actually provided great customer service by returning your funds for you. That's awesome. That doesn't always happen, unfortunately, but guess what? If you're a victim of fraud, a financial fraud, you get re-victimized again, because they know you fall for a scam. So sometimes it could be the same scammer with just a little different scam. Victim reaching out to you again. Again, remember I talked about verified numbers, verified email, all that? It gets sold over and over, so you fall for one scam, you're more likely to be contacted more and fall, unfortunately, for another scam and another scam. And then there's also, then they will come back to you and say, you know what, we know you lost money. We're going to go ahead and help you get your money back. Just give us $3,000 and we'll help you get your money back. So there's that type of scam, right? So again, ask for help. Talk to your family members. Talk to trusted advisors if you need help.
And I think do we want to conclude questions for the sake of time, or? Oh, we have 10 minutes, okay. There's someone in the front who'd like the mic.
Yeah, I thought 3:30 on the flyer, and I
You mentioned not to block numbers. I had a scam as I walked in from, I had one from Walmart and I had one from, Walmart was already a couple of weeks earlier, twice, and one from, what was it just now? And I blocked the number. You said not to block the number.
Yes, so there's different methodologies.
They left messages.
Okay.
Left messages to call back. Of course, I don't call back. But they left a message.
Okay, so who left the voicemail message? Was it Walmart or was it?
It's from Walmart.
Okay,
It said Walmart, but I didn't call back. I went straight away to the return counter there because as soon as I put my card on, 10 minutes later I got that spam call.
okay. So again, there's so many different type of scams, right? We've heard of Walmart where the kiosk, right, self-checkout, right? There's skimmers that are attached to those keypads. Okay, it's called a skimmer. It's usually done at like those smaller gas stations on the outside, right? Not the ones where there's a live person inside the store where somebody could be seen adding a skimmer. But a skimmer is just a small device. You can even buy it on Amazon, I think, where they attach it to a keypad. And so every time you swipe your card, they capture your credit card number, your debit card number. When you put in your PIN number, they're capturing all that, and then it's being sold. Before you even drive yourself home, right, there could have been money coming out of your accounts without you realizing it. So we always say don't use keypads in dark places, off-site where it's not visibly seen or where there's not a live person. But it even happened at Walmart. Inside where there are a couple checkers, right, standing there to assist, somebody added skimmers. So when you get a call from Walmart, and by the way, I'm a Walmart shopper, not a Target shopper, and I've never gotten a call from Walmart. I would never call that number because anybody can leave a phone message saying, "Hi, this is Sally from Walmart. We see fraudulent activity on your purchases. give us a call back at 1-888-SCAMS. How do you know who that is? I am going to drive myself into Walmart. I am going to call my bank and say, hey, I got a fraud alert from Walmart. I want to make sure I put a freeze on any purchases that look suspicious. And guess what? Our banks are so smart. They have a huge fraud department nowadays, right? Where they notify you and say, hey, we know Sally doesn't buy stuff from China. So when there is purchases being made in foreign countries, they kind of hold it. And they might call me, they might text me, but I'm never going to call that number. I'm going to drive myself down to the bank. I'm going to call that number on the back of my debit card.
The last one actually when I walked in here was from Amazon. So I think from the Walmart, how they store the card information, that was sold now. Because this one was from Amazon, and both of them, they said, I made a current year purchase of $1,900, something like that.
Yeah.
In 3 cases,
Mhm.
3 phone calls. And I immediately called my bank, and it was never deducted. I mean, I didn't
Good.
make those purchases. But now my number or whatever is out there, that's what I see.
No, so your bank account number? So that your bank should have told you your credit card number, you should have closed out that account number and gotten another card. Because yeah, somebody's got that number and they're gonna try to use it again at a later time and again and see if it goes through. That's all it is. Okay? And so yeah, if you have any other more personal information, go ahead and see me afterwards. Thank you.